Welcome to your Business Without Borders. It's time to simplify your business so you can scale up, make more, and work less. This podcast is for creatives, innovators, risk takers, and rule breakers who are ready to push through traditional boundaries, make a big impact, and have more fun and freedom on the road to success. Now, here's your host, Natasha Mitchell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Business Without Borders. My name is Natasha Mitchell, and in today's interview, we're discussing how we can take charge of making change in our lives and our business and be the leaders in our own personal growth and development. My guest today is Dr. Kathy Gruver, and Kathy holds a PhD in natural health and has studied mind-body medicine at the famed Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at Harvard. She's a coach, hypnotherapist, and massage therapist, and has been studying psychology and human behavior for her entire life. She's a highly sought-after public speaker and author of 7 award-winning books. She's the host of Fire and Earth podcast, TV host of the Alternative Medicine Cabinet, and has been a featured expert in numerous publications from Forbes, Times, WebMD to Dr. Oz's The Good Life, as well as making appearances on hundreds of radio and TV shows. In 2015, she had the privilege of creating a stress reduction program for the US military. And if that's not enough, for her fun and stress relief, Kathy does flying trapeze and plays Dungeons and Dragons. And I want to hear more about that. And she combines all of this and her sense of humor, her performance background, and real life experience and formal education in everything she does. So it's really my privilege to have you here with us today, Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
So, Kathy, you've got so many tools in your toolkit, and we're going to touch on a few of those today, and specifically ones that can address our stress and being more mindful, and how that can help us take charge of our own lives. And I think we all need a little bit more of that in our stressful times right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy right now.
It sure is. So let's jump in. And, obviously you have a very deep academic background in wellness and stress and mindfulness. But I want to start off with the really intriguing piece, which is your passion for trapeze. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your business and life journey and how your trapeze exploits actually fit into all of this.
Yeah, I'm an adventure junkie, and I love crossing things off a to-do list. I'm one of those people where if I go to cross something off the to-do list and I didn't write it down, I will write it down just to cross it off. I know there's others like me out there. I've done surveys. I don't necessarily believe in a bucket list, but I want to say yes to everything. And to me, if it's something that you can do, that you want to do, go do that thing. Like, what is holding you back? And I had a client, this is when I was still doing a lot of massage, and she said, "Oh my God, I've looked at your resume, I've looked at your website. What in the world is left on your bucket list?" And I said, "Well, I don't believe in bucket lists, da, da, da." She goes, "Okay, well, what do you want to do next?" And I thought back to the Sex and the City episode where Carrie was in New York and she did this flying trapeze thing. And I remember thinking, that's a thing? Like, you can go do that? And I told her I wanted to do flying trapeze. To me, once I've spoken words, I have to go do it. Like, if it's possible, I will find a way. And she's changing after her massage, and I'm sitting there Googling how to do flying trapeze. And I ended up 2 weeks later, I ended up down in Santa Monica, right on the pier, and they had a trapeze rig. And I thought, I'll do it once. It'll be fun. I'm a dancer. I used to do gymnastics. It'll be, easy. I was really good at it. People thought I worked there, which is ridiculous. And then I started going back like all the time. And at that point, I was married because this was like 7 or 8 years ago. And I came home to my husband and I went, "I think I'm in trouble." And he goes, "Why, did you hurt yourself?" And I said, No. Their slogan is forget, fear, worry about the addiction. I'm now addicted. So I've been flying for 7 years. I've flown at rigs all over the world. Anytime I travel, I try to find a rig. And what's so fun about that is that there's a community of people that I now know. And now we have a rig here in Santa Barbara. So once we're unquarantined, I will be back on that rig flying. And that's also how I just recently met my boyfriend. So it's turned into a huge life changer for me. And it's this incredible parallel for life and taking risks and, doing that thing that scares you. It's an amazing adventure.
Yeah, well, I've been listening to your TED Talks and a lot of your talks about all of your adventures and seeing some of your amazing images of you flying through the air with the greatest of ease, as they say. And yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to a lot to what we're talking about, which is not only the risk and adventure. I mean, not everyone might be up for swinging through the air, but I think it's about setting a goal and taking action. And that's sort of what you talk about, the parallel here of the trapeze is a bit of a parallel for life, the ups and downs and the risk and sort of taking that leap of faith.
Yeah. It was also about stepping outside your comfort zone.
Mm.
I don't care if you fly on the trapeze, but do something different. Try a different restaurant, sit in a different booth, take a different way to work. I mean, we're such creatures of habit, and then we get so freaked out when things change. But if you are instigating that change, if you're making that shift happen, then it's not going to be as shocking when other stuff around you starts to change. So to me, it's about the thrill of being on a trapeze. And I have so many people that are like, oh my God, I want to do that so bad. And others who get nauseous just watching my video, probably not the best fit for them. But then do something. And it's the same thing in business. If something's not working, shake it up, try something different. My dad had all these little phrases that he used to say. And one of them was, my God, make a decision even if it's wrong.
Right.
We sometimes get so frozen in that I don't know what to do. Well, we always have the ability to make a different choice, even if it's how we change our mind. So climb that ladder, grab onto that bar, swing out, know you're going to get caught. And if the guy happens to miss you, at the very least, there's a net. You're always going to be okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it's just about going for it, which has been my motto since I was in high school, and just trying something new, trying something different.
It's a great motto. I love it. And I think that's why we're going to have such a great discussion today. So let's, use some of that metaphor and that's life experience and let's turn it to, what we're facing today. I mean, we're certainly living through some very challenging and uncertain and stressful times right now. And, I think we're all out of our comfort zone in some way. I mean, we're adapting, but it's a really big change. What are some of the most common blocks and challenges you're seeing that your clients are experiencing right now?
Yeah, it's the stress of the unknown. I mean, that's always stressful for us, but this is so unknown. And it's interesting because when I do my stress talks, I talk how stress is mainly in our own mind. It's these outside things we can't control, but it's not a real threat. Well, and the way this is different is, yes, it's outside of us and that we can't control it, but it's actually a real threat. Like we can get sick. So I think there's a lot of people that are getting it from so many different sides that are so freaked out about the financial consequences of this, the health consequences of this, the social consequences of this. And normally when we're in a stress state, we have these releases. We can go to the gym, we can hang out with friends, we can travel, we can go wine tasting, we can go get a massage, we can go get a facial. We can't do any of that. So the big downside of this is it's also taking away all those comfort things that we usually do to allay that stress.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard right now. And I see us adapting by jumping on Zoom and doing, virtual cocktail parties. We still don't have massage open here in Santa Barbara. So my boyfriend and I went to my office yesterday and he massaged me.
Right.
Was it a professional level? No, but it felt so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a way for us to connect and us to care. Do your pedicure at home. Is it going to look as good? I know mine's not, but it's still those things that you can do. We did a virtual wine tasting the other night with a group. So everybody's trying to do their best to make this adaptable. And then the other question is, how do you pivot your business? It's really hard for me to pivot massage. Haven't had anyone that wants to do virtual massage yet. They don't seem to be into paying me for that, but I'm doing my hypnosis and my coaching on Zoom, just like this. And it works just as well. Is it ideal? No, but we can't always have ideal. It's about pivoting.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's a big part of it. We kind of have to adapt to our circumstances. And I know for me, I'm a big traveler. So one of the things I'm really missing right now are my travel experiences. And just the other day I was, Googling where could I go in the pandemic. I live in Canada. And I mean, there are places that you can go within Canada and travel, but really, traveling internationally, even if I were to travel home to Australia right now, there's a lot of restrictions and quarantining and things that you would have to do. So I really kind of had to sit with myself and think about how I could make the most rich experience with everything I sort of have literally in my own backyard.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I had this exact conversation with a coaching client. He was frustrated about not traveling. And I gave him a couple suggestions. I said, well, I have a friend who once a week is picking a different culture. They're watching a movie that has to do with that culture. They're playing that kind of music. They're making that kind of dinner. And they're, like decorating their house as if they're in Greece, or if they're in Rome, as if they're in the Ukraine, or watch travel videos. Like there's Rick Steves too. There's so many different travel videos online. Sit down that night and take a tour of Tuscany. Get some Tuscan wine. I mean, we're having to adapt to this in the weirdest way. But let's look at the positives of that. Would you have had time to sit at home and do 2 hours on Tuscany? It's like, I didn't normally.
Right.
So it's about focusing on those positive things of, I've had time to rest for the first time since I started my practice. I've really I've connected with my boyfriend. He's decided to stay moved in after quarantine. I'm getting to cook more. I'm getting to catch up on like writing books and things that I wouldn't normally have time to do. So focusing on those things we can do as opposed to can't do can actually really shift our perspective on those things.
Right. Yeah. And I think I heard you're going to correct me if I get the language wrong, but I was watching your TED talk in Selena's the other day, and I believe you were talking about your experience when you were traveling one time and you hit the road and your tire blew out, and then you sort of had to change your perspective and look at things a little bit of a different way. Could you share a little bit about those key lessons and how maybe shifting our perspective or our view on things might help us in this challenging time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a truck ran me off the road when I was driving through the countryside of England. And it was my best day ever. I had been to Stonehenge, Woodhenge, Avebury, Bath, Stanton Drew. I did this amazing day trip, and I was heading back to my bed and breakfast, and this truck ran me off. And the big thing I wanted to do was stand on top of the Tor in Glastonbury and like have this spiritual experience at sunset. Thought I'd get sucked into some, like Miss of Avalon kind of book. And when the truck ran me off, I was furious, and the truck didn't stop. And I was basically stranded on the side of the road, watching time go by, knowing I was going to miss the sunset. And I called the bed and breakfast to tell them that I was going to be late. And she asked me if I was looking at something pretty. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about, lady? Like, what is wrong with you people? Like, no, I'm not. I'm standing here waiting for the truck. And she said, well, you'll sit, you'll wait, you'll look at something pretty. You'll get here when you get here. And I hear click, she hung up on me. I'm like, what? I was furious. I was so upset by this. Only child, don't interrupt my plans. Like, this was my dream trip. And in that moment, I had gone from my highest high to my lowest low. But I thought about what she said, and I realized she was absolutely right. I had no choice. I couldn't control the truck. I couldn't make the tow truck guy come any quicker. Couldn't stop the sunset. Definitely not that powerful. And so for the first time, I turned away from the road, and I noticed this beautiful field behind me, and the sun was going down. And I sat on this wall and just watched nature unfold. And I realized that my lesson in this trip was this spiritual experience I wanted was not about standing on the Tor. It was about this woman telling me to just change my focus, to basically sit there and shut up and enjoy the beauty in things, as opposed to focusing on that negative, because we always have that choice. And so often we look to the negative. That's how we're wired. Our brain is constantly scanning the environment for negative things. Can I do a quick exercise, just a 30-second thing to illustrate this?
Absolutely. I would love you to.
Okay, so everybody, wherever you are, look around and just notice everything you can that's red. Try to memorize everything in your environment that's red. Okay, now, unless you're driving, close your eyes and try to remember everything you saw that was blue. I know, it's vastly unfair. So many people can't even remember one thing they saw that was blue. Okay,
I'm wearing a top that's blue. I couldn't even remember that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I'm in my house, and so my kitchen is like almost all red. But still, all the blue stuff went away, and I even know how this game goes. The blue stuff didn't disappear. You just weren't focused on it. So in the same way, the positive stuff is there. But if you are so focused on these negative things, if you want to make that identity of victimhood and suffering and oh, it's a bad day, and then you're going to lose out on all this positive stuff. And it's as simple as changing your focus, because the more positive stuff you look at, the more positive stuff you're going to find. So that was the lesson that came out of that trip. And that was back in, I think, 2008. So, I've been carrying that lesson for a long time. And that's become sort of my signature story as a speaker, is just allowing people to shift that focus.
Well, that's a really great exercise. And, I think sometimes we hear the message that you're sharing of like, change your focus or think positive thoughts, but sometimes it's not that easy to do that. So I love that you were able to share a very tangible tool with us, or a practical tool that we can actually put into action. And, while we're on the topic of business, maybe you can share a few other thoughts. I feel, a lot of my clients have fallen into this space. I do myself at times, and I have to catch myself, that it's very easy to fall into this sort of scarcity, fear, procrastination, and paralysis. What advice as a coach would you give to, business owners, specifically from a business owner's perspective, with people who are struggling with some of these things and how they could manage all of this right now?
Yeah, I think it's really important to focus on what we do want. And I have had so many clients where I say, so what do you want? And they give me 30 things they don't want. Well, our brain is tricky. Our brain goes towards things that are familiar. It keeps us safe that way. This is why, unfortunately, there's so many women in abusive relationships or people stuck in jobs they don't like. Their brain is like, no, we know this, it's safe. To step out of that and move to something that's unknown is terrifying for our brain. This is why I like trapeze. Terrifying, but fun. So if you focus on what you do want, when you sit there and you daydream and you fantasize those thoughts that run through our head in the shower of what Monday morning is going to look like, if you're thinking about positive things, if you're seeing yourself get that job, get that date, get that raise, the contract comes through, the business is prosperous and abundant, as opposed to, God, I hope I have enough. Your brain starts to make that familiar. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking about and imagining and what's actually happening. So if you keep playing those positive stories, that's now a known. And you are going to make decisions. You are going to surround yourselves. You're going to find opportunities, just like you found the red but couldn't find the blue. You're going to find opportunities that lead you to something else. And it sounds so like airy fairy woo woo. It's, The Secret and What the Bleep Do We Know and Think and Grow Rich. And these things exist for a reason. Yes. And studies support that us doing visualizations and affirmations can make changes not only in our body, but also in our performance. People who consider themselves lucky, and I consider myself very lucky, tend to be more positive, more extroverted, more willing to talk to strangers, and just more aware of their environment. So people who are lucky are going to find that $100 bill on the pub floor, where people who consider themselves unlucky because they're not looking for opportunities, they're not looking for the positivity, they gaze right over the bill and don't even see it because they're focused on the red and not the blue. So that's just sort of a more esoteric thing to do. But what do you want? Just know what you want and start focusing on that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I've had some interesting examples of that with some of my own clients over this time. I work a lot with people in the event industry, so in all areas of the event industry. And it's been interesting, my role as a business strategist is to sort of find different ways that they can pivot and move their business. And as you've mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity with virtual events. And it's been interesting as I have actually evolved my business a little bit more to support people in that. When I started reaching out to some clients and asking about their appetite for running events virtually or looking at events, in a different way and thinking about how they could use virtual tools and technology, I can really see the clients that are going to succeed and those that are not. The ones that are sort of really married to the same way of doing things and sort of fingers crossed. It's like, well, we can have 50 people now, or we can have 100 people now in December. They're the ones that are still sort of hoping that things go back to the way it was. And then I've got other clients who are saying, yeah, Natasha, tell me more about that. I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but let's explore the opportunity, and I'm willing to give it a try and see what we can work with. So that conversation that we're having is really interesting to me, because I even see it in my own world and with my clients as well.
Right. Well, and it's, when you ask yourself, what do you want? Sometimes we come up with an answer that's not quite accurate. I have a colleague who I had done a talk on, my 5 keys to stress reduction, one of which is affirmations. And this woman comes up to me after the talk and she says, what do you do if someone's affirming something that's impossible? And I said, interesting. I said, can you give me an example without telling me too much about? She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, I have a client who his affirmation is that he's going to win the lottery.
Right.
I went, okay. I said, let me guess. He doesn't play the lottery. And she said, he's never bought a ticket. I went, okay. Yes, that's going to be a difficult one. I said, can you tell me more about that? Like, why does he want to win the lottery? Turns out he's incarcerated. He wants to start a foundation for youth so that they don't make the same mistakes he did. And I went, oh, well, he doesn't want to win the lottery. He wants to help people.
Right.
She said, what? And I said, ask the 5 whys. Why does he want to win the lottery? He needs a lot of money. Why does he need a lot of money to start this foundation? Why does he want to start a foundation? He wants to reach youth. And then the last question is, what else can he do?
Right.
Could he start a blog? Could he do a newsletter? Could he do, I don't know what the prison confines are. So that made it tough.
Right.
But there's got to be other things he can do to reach youth that don't involve winning the lottery. And her eyes lit up and she goes, I get it now. It's about asking why you want what you want, because often what you're afraid of and what you want, it's not what it actually is. You've got to distill it down to that baseline. The fear is you're going to die. The want is, whatever the want ends up being, to help people or, whatever. And the other thing that I love to have people do is really focus in on their values. If you don't know what your values are, do a values exercise. That's one of the first things I do with my business clients. Yes. And then you're making decisions from those values. And if you have values in conflict, then we can work with that. But if you don't know what you want and what you stand for, I just don't know how you can go from there. You can, but it's going to be a little more floundery.
Yeah. And I know I'm completely aligned with you on that. And it's something also I work with a lot of my clients as well, as they're scaling up. Sometimes they're in this scaling mode and they're thinking, I want to grow bigger. And actually what they want is they want more structure and efficiency in the work that they're doing now, so that they actually have more free time. So that distinction you've made of really knowing what the why is and asking those questions is really helpful. And a lot of those things you're saying, I think, lead us nicely into the next question or area, which is one of the tools that I wanted to speak specifically about today is this. You're a registered hypnotherapist, and I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about hypnotherapy and how we could use that in our own lives to improve, manage our stress or improve a situation in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Hypnosis is one of my favorite things. I love doing hypnosis. It is so much fun. It is so effective. From a personal standpoint, it's mainly known for smoking and weight loss. Those are actually the 2 things I don't do. I don't like doing the 2 popular things I don't like doing. I also don't do stage hypnosis. So I'm not going to make you, run around and pretend you're on a roller coaster or cluck like a chicken. Blah, blah, blah. Not interesting to me. It's fun, but not interesting to me. It's really great for stress reduction, fears, phobias, personal development, pain, pre-op and post-op. I love seeing pre-surgical patients to help them heal quicker, to have the surgery go smoother. We can talk directly to the unconscious and make these changes happen. In a business way, it's great for fears of public speaking. And pretty much anytime you're out of your house, you're public speaking. So it doesn't have to be in front of an auditorium of 5,000 people. It could be the 6 people you need at that sales meeting, or the 3 people when you have the board of directors meeting. It's about finding ease and comfort in whatever you want to accomplish. I'm working with a gentleman right now who wants to up his self-confidence. He wants to be able to send the soup back. He wants to be able to ask for the money when it's 60 days overdue. So we can do anything like that. It's really for personal and professional development. What is the little moniker say? For vocational and advocational enhancement, success.
Right.
You know, and then there's things you can do from there, everything from PTSD and anxieties. And, you know, I don't work with medical stuff per se, but if you've got some low moods, a little bit of anxiety, stuff, it's great for so many different things. And because it goes straight to the subconscious, you can make those changes and they're permanent.
Yeah. And, you know, I was so fascinated by this subject because I've started to explore that myself. I think as a business owner, we kind of go through these stages. You know, you start out focusing on the tactics, and then you quickly realize that your own mindset mastery is a big part of the key to your success. So I was really interested to hear some of your thoughts about hypnosis. One kind of from the true perspective of what it is and how it can influence us at a subconscious level. But what would you say, it's not obviously not a magic bullet. What would you do as a complement to any hypnosis work that you would do with a client, as an example?
Yeah, I mean, some people, honestly, it is a magic bullet for them. They show up for 1 to 5 sessions and suddenly they can drive on the freeway again, or suddenly their fear of flying is gone. For an ongoing relationship, I really combine the coaching and the hypnosis. So we might have a session where it's pure coaching, and then 2 sessions later, I might say, close your eyes, let's go into this visualization, or let's actually go in the magic chair and let me do the induction. And let's really get into the root of what that is.
Yes.
It's great with fears. It's great with getting in touch with that inner child. And I know inner child for a lot of business people sounds so icky and you know, airy fairy and whatever. We all have different aspects of ourselves. We all have different ego states. And if you were wounded as a kid that now doesn't allow you to achieve what you want to achieve, and I think we're all wounded as a kid, even if it was just us being dropped off at kindergarten. If we took that as a trauma, you know, the parents weren't being cruel. They didn't lock us in a cellar. They took us to school.
Right.
That's so upsetting for so many kids. And then that stays with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to not fix that, but to really come in contact with that young self and to realize that so many of our decisions now are made from that fear that came from childhood or our last marriage or our first marriage or our, you know, and helping to resolve those issues in the past clears that way so that we can make better decisions in the future. If we're moving towards those knowns and our knowns are damaged, let's fix the damage so that our new knowns can be prosperous, abundant, and happy.
Yeah. And thank you. You know, I think that's exactly why I wanted to have the discussion today, because I think, you know, going back to our initial opening of this, we're in such an uncertain and unusual time that I think, learning more about different tools and strategies that we can use to not only cope through that, but then come out of the end thriving and not living from that fear and scarcity is really important. So I definitely wanted to hear more about the hypnosis as a tool for assisting us through this right now.
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking, because it's one of my favorite things. And there's so many misconceptions, because typically the only place you've seen hypnosis is one of 2 places. You're at the fair and they're making the people on stage look like idiots. Or get all sexy and it's like, or you've watched a movie like Get Out where the person gets, you know, dropped through the floor and stuck in hypnosis. You cannot get stuck in hypnosis. You will not do anything in hypnosis you wouldn't normally do. So unless you're going to take off your clothes and run down the street in your everyday life, I can't make you do that. You're not going to give me your PIN number. You're not going to go on some, you know, spree of shopping, you know. It simply taps into the subconscious and helps us make those changes that are going to allow us to achieve more.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I'm all about making things simple and easy and fast tracking. So as I say, I use this in my own business and my own life. And yeah, I mean, as I say, I think if it can fast track or accelerate us through a difficult thought pattern, then all the better. And I'm really glad that you've busted some of those TV myths that have turned people away from this as a tool in the past.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to, because there's too many misconceptions.
Yeah. And Kathy, I know we could talk for hours because you're just so adept in so many different areas of health and wellness and business. But if there was one last piece of advice or words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience today, what would that be?
Yeah, I think it's circling right back to the trapeze and to the story from England. It's go for it. Just figure out what you want, break it down into eatable pieces, and go do that thing. If you want to write a book, write a book. If you want to start a new company, figure out how to do that. And ask for help. I think that's so important. And I think so often we get locked in this thing of, I don't want to bother people, or I don't want to seem needy, or I don't want to. People love to help others. They love to be of service. I needed to go pick up my car from it getting repaired, and I had a client coming who I knew had to basically drive past that to get to his house. And I kind of felt weird about, and then I said, would you be willing to drop me at the car place on your way home? And he looks at me and he goes, thank you for letting me be of service. Because you help so many people. And if I can drive you 30 seconds out of my way so that you don't have to take an Uber and be late for your next client, thank you for letting me do that. He was so happy to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people have that mindset. I will go out of my way to help people do things.
Right.
So in that same way, ask for help, ask for what you need, ask for a referral, ask for a testimonial, whatever you need to make your life easy, but know what you want and then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. That is just such valuable information, and I say from both an academic perspective and from a really tangible perspective as well. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and your time with us today. It's been really so informative.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I just want to also let everyone know that you're sharing today a special meditation giveaway. So thank you for that. And I'm going to leave that in the show notes below. So if anyone would like to listen to that, I've listened to it. It's amazing. So I'll share that in the show notes. And if you want to connect further with Kathy and work with her or find about the work she's doing, you can find her on all good social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at Dr. Kathy Gruver, and I'm going to also leave those in the show notes. So thank you again for your time today, Kathy. It's been a really informative and enlightening conversation, and I will be putting lots of those tips you've shared into action right away.
Great. Oh, I'm so happy to help. Thanks for having me.
And if you want to connect with me and discover how to put the strategies and plans in place to scale your creative business with ease, then you can visit me at Inspire and Drive, and you can download my free simple business blueprint or schedule a discovery call. Well, that's all for this week. I'm Natasha Mitchell saying thanks for joining us on Your Business Without Borders. Now let's go break some rules.
You've been listening to Your Business Without Borders with Natasha Mitchell. If you're ready to break some rules and create your business without borders, visit Natasha at inspireanddrive.com and download your free business blueprint or schedule a free business discovery session. You can also follow her on Instagram and Facebook at Inspire and Drive. Come back soon for another episode of Your Business Without Borders. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review, download an episode, and subscribe. This helps us reach even more people.